May Jesus be praised and onward with Mary. A good and holy day to all of you, my dear children, in the sacred hearts of Jesus and Mary, and in the most chaste heart of Saint Joseph. Welcome back to our morning column, Saints and Coffee in a special edition. Today is Saturday, the 21st of June, and the church celebrates on this Saturday. So beautiful, so summery, full of light. They are the most intense days of light and sun, the liturgical feast of St. Aloysius Gonzaga. He was a Jesuit novice who would die in a short time at the age of 23 years and become a saint. The liturgy today says two things, I would say, quite astonishing, that should make us reflect. The first is that he immediately received baptism, and the martyrology says, thus affirming that he was already more worthy of heaven than of earth, and then that he would preserve the baptismal grace for his entire life. Do you realize, flowers, my dears, what this means? We who, on the other hand, have not preserved it, know baptismal grace. That is, through baptism, we are freed from original sin. We are a tabula rasa in the beautiful sense of the term. That is, we are in God's grace. We have sanctifying grace in a pure and uncontaminated form by mortal sins or by the sum of venial sins. And so it was St. Louis Manza. I don't know how many saints can claim to have preserved their baptismal grace. Well, I don't think there will be very many. And certainly he died, young, also because, as was said in the Mass, today's Gospel, in the Mass in which I prayed for all of you, you shall love God with all your heart and your neighbor as yourself. He, St. Louis Manza, took care of the plague-stricken, and on one of these occasions he contracted the plague and would die shortly thereafter. And I was saying, we do not know how many saints have had the grace to preserve their baptismal grace. One thing, if you think about it, is remarkable. St. Aloysius Gonzaga will preserve this baptismal grace, and the martyrology adds that he lived on earth like an angel. He was like a man without flesh, perhaps the martyrology exaggerating a little. But anyway, it is not an exaggeration, because air conditioning has these effects. And I was saying that it is not an exaggeration, because in fact, after his death, St. Louis Manza will appear shortly thereafter to St. Mary Magdalene de Pazzi, a Carmelite mystic nun, more or less a contemporary of St. Aloysius Gonzaga, and she will see him truly as an angel. Who knows how many young people, teenagers, children, who sometimes die unexpectedly. The Lord calls them to heaven to be part of who knows what host. Today I thought of all the children who die at a tender age. But my heart, as I think and hope, yours too, goes at this moment to the extremely dramatic international situation. Extremely dramatic. In reality, beyond the Ukrainian-Russian war front, now it is the entire Middle East, in flames. We have Syria, where the collaborationist regime of the jihadist government continues to persecute ethnic minorities, including the Christian one, which was not really a minority, but is becoming one. And then we have above all this war, which is a true and proper war, between the nation of Iran and the nation of Israel. Israel, which has attacked this nation, this Islamic nation, with the capital Tehran, because they think that it is in fact developing the atomic bomb project. In reality, however, the IAEA, which would be the designated oversight body, it says that in light of the checks, it cannot be stated that it is truly so. So there's a war on what basis? It's not very clear, my dear children. It's a dramatic war. The city of Tel Aviv, Haifa, in Israel, and then again Jerusalem itself, are subjected to veritable aerial missile raids. The Iranian counteroffensive apparently is working, and so we are in an international situation more or less explosive. Let's not underestimate this. Instead, with the rosary in hand, let us pray to the Queen of Peace. Let us pray to the Immaculate Heart of Mary for peace. Or anyway, let us pray that we remain vigilant, watchful in faith, knowing that this world gives way. Then to the eschaton, to the final condition. Today, St. Aloysius Gonzaga reminds us that we are made for heaven, that we are on our way towards paradise, even if we must live on earth. And we must not despise the things of the earth, because when it is said that we have conquered the world, one conquers the world. The world is not God's creation. As if with some deliberate misunderstanding, anti-Christian ideology has sought to make people believe as if we Christians despised life. But nothing could be more false. One of my role models is John Paul II. This morning I was watching when he went to Chile in 1987. Oh my goodness, what vigor, what athletic prowess. And he didn't sleep. He slept for a couple of hours if he managed it. But he was always there, present, clear-headed. I say this with all due respect. Benedict XVI was not up to this lifestyle. He did not have the physical robustness, but instead the intellectual finesse. Yes, indeed, in this they complemented each other, John Paul II and Benedict XVI. But to see John Paul II full of life, because Christ does not despise life, it's not that St. Aloysius Gonzaga reeked of death because he renounced the world. I don't know how to put it. He wasn't a walking corpse. St. Aloysius Gonzaga, pay attention to a very dangerous misunderstanding. It's not that the Christian believer who yearns for paradise and seeks heaven will despise the world, not even until the very last moment. Understood as creation, right? Not even at the last moment of life, the true lover of God will despise what is his work. It is clear, the world is marked by sin, and unfortunately it is so. You go for a walk in the mountains because you want to enjoy the panorama of God's beauty, and you find the climber who has injured himself and is swearing. You go to the sea because you like to immerse yourself with a liberating swim in the bright crystalline waters of summer, and you find her naked. So, that particular climber who blasphemes, and the 50-year-old woman with her buttocks exposed, they are the expression, that is the expression of the world, a world marked by sin. I don't know if you understand me and agree. If they weren't there, unfortunately they are there. The climber who blasphemes, and the 50-year-old woman who acts provocatively at the seaside, everything would be much more beautiful. Because the mountain peaks and the depths of the summer sea speak by analogy, as the Holy Scripture also says, of the beauty of God. So St. Aloysius Gonzaga reminds us that we are made for heaven, but precisely not because we are marked by death, but because we are thirsty for life. Paradise is for those who are thirsty for life, for love. I want to feel like one of these, and I hope it shows. I want and continue to be. In fact, as the years go by, I realize that I have an ever greater hunger for love. I want love. I desire love. I want life. I desire life. I want light. I desire light. Unfortunately, the world is scarred by the will of us human beings. God created us as the masterpiece of creation, leaving us free, and we have become ogres to ourselves. Look at what is happening in Rome, and look how everyone is protecting Prevost, making him out to be a holy pope. It is falsehood, hypocrisy, falsehood, and corruption. It is man who does this. It is man, not even animals. There is no wickedness in animals. Of course, if you go to the zoo and you go and find a free lion, it is clear that it will devour you. But it does not do it out of wickedness. It does it out of instinct. Instead, we human beings, we have become wicked with original sin, evil, full of hatred. And then this widespread hatred, this lack of love, this rotting in sin leads to sadness, to depression. One turns to Satan, to sorcerers, to black magic, to hexes, to evil spells, to curses. Do you realize that man is the dark being of the planet? Do we want to say it or not? Once and for all? It is man, the dark being of the planet. The planet, if man were not there, the planet would be a masterpiece. It would have remained Eden. It is a very important discourse. The one this morning came to me just like that, thinking of St. Aloysius Gonzaga for a theological interpretation. Because here there is the risk of Manichaeism. That is, on the one hand, a St. Aloysius Gonzaga who, since he is angelic, and since he is made for heaven, he could be made out to be someone who despised life. The joys of life. I don't know, as one says, the beautiful things of creation. We are still in... Right, a little patience. And the other one, we're connected with those from the... And the other one. So Manichaeism is tough, and when you're at the level of the passages, you have to interrupt. Anyway, we'll make do. We have to change, but evidently because the line is disturbed, but maybe I'll put it further ahead. Right, we're live again, I believe. I'm sorry that the bed is visible, but I had to move. What can you do? To me, they seem like diabolical blackmail. Anyway, to me, they seem like blackmail. Anyway, it's necessary to interrupt the beautiful things that are being said. So I was saying that St. Louis Manza, patron of youth, patron of clerics, of the young, and the saint of purity, of chastity. We must be careful about the Manichaean interpretation. That is, on the one hand, the idea that he despised life, that he didn't like life, a sort of grumpy depressive, of a saint with a skull and the stench of death. And this is not good. And on the other hand, neither is the idea of a light-hearted saint who is uninterested in life, etc. The saints were in love with life, in love with light, with joy, with beauty too. There is no saint who is unconcerned with aesthetics, indifferent to beauty. That is for sure, flowers, dear ones. And if there were those who have no interest in the beauties of creation, to the beauty of the world, as God created it, and they want to become saints, they should question themselves, because there is nothing more moving. A beautiful summer sunset by the seaside, or the contemplation of the dawn on the summit of Mont Blanc, or, I don't know, So this is to tell you, and then the joys that God gives us, which if they are lived, as St. Thomas Aquinas says, in order, in balance, with sobriety, they express the joy of living healthily, the joy of Christian living, from food to drinks, to the colors, to the tastes, to the sounds, the melodies, the singing, This could be applied to the liturgy. But what sort of liturgy do certain dull, metallic priests perform, who confuse sobriety with total beauty? It is a very important discourse that St. Aloysius Gonzaga offers us as a theological aside. The Christian loves life, and even if he knows that he walks towards heaven until the last breath he has not yet drawn, he loves life like St. John Bosco, one of my favorites. He dies when they ask him, "Don Bosco, would you like to say a word to your young people?" He smiles, he dies, smiling, saying, "Tell my young people and my children that I await them all in paradise. How beautiful this is, isn't it?" Well, good. We invoke St. Aloysius Gonzaga for our adolescence. And here one could open up another chapter that naturally I don't have the time to delve into now. So today is Saturday, therefore the 21st of June, officially summer begins. Thank you. Welcome summer. I'm telling you, I'm a summer person even in February. I am a summer person. Instead, be patient, all of you. And there are many of you, my dears, who do not love the heat, who do not love summer, and who cannot wait, like bears, to go into hibernation to wake up when it is cold. I would like to do. On the contrary, in truth, I would always gladly stay under the covers. When there are those gray, gloomy days with little light, if there's just this light, dark ones. But even that is a gift from God, as Brother Celestino says. Let's retrieve, or rather what he said yesterday, This is all a gift from God, including the dark, cold days, gray and also rainy. But today summer begins, so let us prepare to live more days, full of light, full of sun, and full of life that will accompany our path on this earth. Today is Saturday, 21 June, and exactly 8 days are left. Incredible to say how time flies until the Monza event. An event through which, without a doubt, if we have the courage to accept it, the Lord wishes to use us to reply to the false church. And one replies, on equal terms. I don't know how to be clearer than this. One replies on equal terms. And in any case, heaven will know how to inspire the path. So I would like to communicate something very important to you that has been asked of me by a few people, and that is that we will move the Mass earlier in the program, there in Monza, at the OP Quad Arena, where we will meet at 2 o'clock sharp with the Priestly Association of Mary. We will meet with the sisters, the seminarians, all God's holy people, who come to Monza to respond to the false church, to sing the beauty of the Catholic and Apostolic faith. There is no need for payment, entry is free, and above all, there is no need to book. The coaches are almost all full. In some regions, such as Friuli, Venezia Giulia, and Emilia-Romagna, there are 2 coaches, and those have also filled up. And then, of course, all the others will come by their own means. I would like to express, almost bowing my head, my personal gratitude to all those faithful of the small remnant who come from Rome downwards to Monza. And so I want to mention, starting with the Romans, my dear faithful, Capitolanes, you can make a difference. Naturally, this is an appeal directed at those who come from central southern Italy, because it is clear that there must be the Venetians, the Lombards, the Piedmontese, the Emilians, the Tuscans, the Friulians, the Trentinians, the people from Marcia too. This makes a bit of a difference in the sense that it's easier to get to. However, I express my gratitude to the faithful of Rome and Lazio, to the faithful of Umbria, to the Neapolitan faithful in surrounding areas, Campania, Salerno, those regions there, also in Molise, Basilicata, and then an immense sense of gratitude. I express it as of this moment to those faithful who organized themselves in good time to come from these following regions, Sardinia, Calabria, Apulia, and Sicily, without meaning any disrespect to the others, naturally, without meaning any disrespect to the others. Again, my personal gratitude. This morning, 1 week from the Monza event, goes to the faithful of Sardinia, Calabria, Puglia, and Sicily, who are organizing themselves. It has always been known that the South is economically worse off than the North. And so, my dear faithful of the small remnant who are in the North, you should then express gratitude to these faithful who from southern Italy are making sacrifices to come by plane, by train, by car, and in any other way to Monza, to experience this unifying identity-forming moment with which it is no longer us. But may heaven respond to the schemes of the false church of darkness which is in Rome. So, it will be a moment of grace, a moment of celebration. We will also have the participation of faithful. As you already know, we have already said it, they themselves have testified to it, by calling live, coming from various other parts of the world, of the small international remnant. They will come from Australia, they will come from Canada, from the United States of America, from Spain, from Germany, from Romania, from Switzerland, from Austria, I believe also from England, from Belgium. Most of these are all Italo-Italians or Italians living abroad, tied to the country where they live. However, it is important that, indeed, there is this beautiful response as well. It will be a waving of flags, it will be a joyful welcome of the Madonna, a solemn Holy Mass. Above all, there will finally be, as we had announced, the joint declaration, which I do not know, and rightly so, the content. But in this sense, I would like to thank the brethren of the Sodalizio, particularly the dear Don Enrico Bernasconi, who once again, with great diligence and priestly rigor, Did he truly commit himself? As he had done for the statute, I remind you, the statute he wrote it, Don Enrico wrote it. And then last year, we together examined the statute, we suggested, we added, removed as is, right, in a collegiate work. And so he's doing the same now with the matter of the joint declaration that will indeed be presented in Monza. Therefore, thank you, Don Enrico, and thank you to the confraternity members who evidently gathered also to deepen this type of preparation. It will be a moment of grace. I feel it very strongly. If until now I had thought that the number was on the low side, now I'm starting to believe that there will truly be many of us. Do come, because there is space. Just think, the Opiquad Arena can hold 4,000 seats. 4,000 is not a small number. I believe we've never reached 4,000. Perhaps we just about touched it in Bologna in 2023. I presume that at the Bologna Fair we reached around 4,000, but exactly 4,000 never, I presume. So who knows if this isn't the right time, that you have all understood that you need to be there. We have 8 days left. And if this appeal of mine prompts someone to buy a ticket and to say no, but I must go, it means that the strategic importance of Monza has been understood compared to what is happening in Rome for more than 1 month. Right, then today is Saturday. I remember that this evening at 9 o'clock in the evening there is the 4th episode of the series The Work of Maria Valtorta. The Work of Maria Valtorta. There she is. This is a photo of when she was rather young and is little known as a young woman, and that's why it was put in. Perhaps 2 can be put in, with a photo of the more famous one of when she was already rather old, sitting. There is a very well-known one, which is shown. Maria Valtorta, lying in bed. She was confined to immobility because of a nasty misfortune. Phew. And Valtorta, indeed, her work certainly helps us in the journey of faith. So this evening at 9 o'clock in the evening, we are representing the sign, share the work of Maria Valtorta. Right, of course. Then there are the engagements that we, priests, are carrying forward. In particular, I would like to begin with the indefatigable one. At this point, Father Enrico, but he is younger than me. How old is Father Enrico? 46? 44? I don't remember how old Father Enrico is, I think. 45 or 46. Anyway, I'm almost 52, so there's a bit of a difference. However, he is truly tireless. Don Enrico, he has always acted with great discretion so far. However, it is right to communicate, in my opinion, the places he goes, because there are people who tell me, Father, but I did not know Don Enrico was there. Why do you not say so? Understood, Don Enrico? Therefore, it is always important to communicate. Today, 21st of June, he will be in Servia. I know that the number of bookings has already been reached, but I want to point out to the collaborators that if someone were to come, please do not throw them out. Let them in, please, no more. This is very important. And then especially tomorrow's appointment, you see the sign. Sunday, the 22nd of June, Zola Predosa was written. You did well. However, when it's a province or a hamlet or whatever it may be, it's important to put the city of reference in brackets, because otherwise, many people don't know it. Anyway, Zola Predosa is in Bologna. Tomorrow afternoon, Father Enrico celebrates, and a full house is expected there too. I congratulate Father Enrico. Monday, on the 23rd of June, Father Enrico will be in Piacenza, but in a private residence, and then from the 24th to the 27th of June, for the feasts and solemnities of St. John the Baptist and the Sacred Heart of Father Enrico. With the joy of all of us, especially the sisters of the street, the 4 little sisters who are there, who are waiting for him, who are there at home. Bethany, Don Enrico will indeed be in Savigliano. This is the program for Don Enrico and for Don Ramon. There are indeed no further movements planned until the event in Monza. However, as for me, tomorrow morning at 10:30, I will be in the Marche region, exactly in Castelfidardo. At the Class Hotel in Castelfidardo, Holy Mass at 10:30, preceded by the Rosary at 10 o'clock. Courage, faithful of the small Marches remnant. Do not miss this appointment, a very important notice set off in good time. Because Castelfidardo is along the road leads to the sea, the motorway network that takes people to the Adriatic coasts. Tomorrow and Sunday, do not set off at the last moment because you risk getting stuck in traffic if you want to come, and I speak from experience. And I say the same for those who have to go to Donerico in the coming days. Set off early, because so far, as those who accompany me have seen, the motorways are a bottleneck everywhere, so set off in good time. And then my next appointments are on Tuesday. The other, Feast of St. John the Baptist in Bergamo, precisely at the church at the St. Sixtus Auditorium, and finally, on the 27th of June, 2 days before the Monza event, Solemnity of the Sacred Heart of Jesus, we will be at the Parco Hotel on Bonaldo Stringer Street in Butrio, in the province of Udine, for the Solemnity of the Sacred Heart of Jesus. There, Brother Celestino will reach me, and I believe the seminarians will also come to serve the Solemnity of the Sacred Heart. Jesus, these are the upcoming appointments. I believe that perhaps already in Bergamo, but certainly in Udine, in Butrio, the second volume of the work, The Eagle, will be available, and The Sun that I have written for all of you. It is also available on the playlist of Radio Domina Nostra, the series of catecheses. From me here, this is instead the book. Here it is. This is the cover of the new volume. Many of you have the first volume, but there are still many copies available. I invite you to have it, because one day, because I invite you to have it, then do as you believe. I'm not doing an advertising campaign, which is also useful anyway, because if one writes something, one must publicize it. You can see that everyone can do it. When I do it, I want to make money. Oh well. Anyway, I wanted to tell you something important, Maria, even if you don't read. If you are of the small remnant, you have family members, relatives, grandchildren, children who go against Don Minutella. Take these books for two reasons. The first, because you never know, these people might secretly decide to read them, and then they will realize that I am not a charlatan guru, but I am a serious theologian and preacher, because it is contrafacto, meno valid argumento. The second, because I do not live forever, even though I would like to. On earth, I mean, and so sooner or later I too will die, and from one day to the next I will no longer be here. So words fly, written remain. Here are the books that you take, especially this commentary on the Gospel of John, which in my opinion will go down in history, not so much for the things I have written, because in the end they are simple things, even if in depth, but because they are written with theological rigor, with seriousness, with faith. Therefore, whoever reads them tomorrow, our descendants, will want to understand that Ido Minutella will read his books. They will realize that they must be cautious. To say that he was possessed, that he was someone who wanted to be a guru outside the Catholic Church. Someone, when I'm no longer here and spirits calm down, will have to reflect on the basis of this. That's why I urge you to get them, even if you do not read them. At least these ones, Dell'Aquila and Il Sole, the first and the second volume, which is coming out, get it, because it is useful for these two things I have told you about. Who knows? Someone might secretly read them for you. Then tomorrow, when I am no longer here, and neither will you, they will remain in your libraries, and people will be able to say that if they read them, they look at them, that this Dom Minutella, whom the mother, the grandmother, the aunt followed, was not then what was described. I was telling you that on the playlist, you will find the box available, titled The Intangible Apostolic Faith, in which you will find all my catecheses relating to a series of reflections on the current situation in Rome. Having said all this, I also wanted to finally tell you one last important thing. A docufilm is being developed, the first docufilm to prepare for the Monza event. It's not propaganda. I find people, in a small way, I'm a bit, shall we say, I say this with affection, because after all, we are now like a big parish. So you go and put all the sensitivities together. It's not a simple thing that are a bit, since they found out that there's this situation that we're doing. It's not even being done. I'm doing it, by all means, a docufilm, a film documentary. About the Monza event, some of the small remnant were scandalized. They are the ones who would like to live as Yamish. In the face of the possibility now, my dear children, you must realize and trust Domina. Every situation is good, just as John Paul II did to evangelize. Here we must make some noise. We must make ourselves heard. They must see that we are here. Every initiative is blessed. Including this docufilm, the objective of the docufilm is to show, as written by the journalist Paola Maras, who with her husband is involved with this docufilm, that the small remainder, which might seem insignificant to you, is a serious and consolidated reality, both nationally and internationally. Every region should be represented, and also the small remainder from abroad. The videos must be personal and shot with your smartphone horizontally, but do participate in this initiative, because you will see that then, by projecting it, it will gain great approval, and you will see that many people who are perplexed by the deceitful and diabolical demonic advertising campaign against Domina Minutella and the small remnant, they could probably form a different idea. One last thing. Whoever comes to the meeting in Monza must accept to sign this thing that at the entrance it will be stated that the event is public and therefore there can be footage that captures you. Let none of the wretched and scoundrel enemies try to be clever. Don't try to be clever with us, who come there and then sue us because we filmed you. The hall will be full. I thank the dear journalist, Maria, who suggested it. Because it had escaped me, the hall will be full of this notice, so that all those who enter know that there are recordings. Because the villainous enemy who pretends to be part of the little remnant might come, is recorded, and then files complaints and causes everything to be shut down. So know that according to the laws, it is stipulated that the faithful entering the Monza event must be warned that there will be public recordings, and therefore, anyone may be recorded. Anyone entering at the entrance will be able to read that there will be public filming, so no one act like an idiot pretending not to know it and entering there also because we are saying it. Well, my dears, so today's title is absolutely indicative. Control room, please show it. There it is. Let us read it together. A false program, Prevost, and the Church of the Steps. Well then, my dear children, today I do not know exactly how many days have passed since the false election of the false Pope Leo. Anyway, I would like to say something. It is the 21st of June, and he appeared from the Central Loggia on the 8th of May. 8th of June, that's 30 days. It's about 40 days that he's a false Pope. He appeared thanking Pope Francis. Thank you, Pope Francis. Therefore thanking a false, heretical, unrepentant, apostate Pope who has destroyed Catholic identity, as Napoleon, Zeno, and Santi, and all the enemies of the Church had never managed to do together. And concluding by saying we want a synodal church. This was the start, the overture of this that was called Leo. Why was it called Leo? He did not say it openly, or at least he implied that he did it because he referred to Leo XIII, who was the Pope who had fought in favor of the social question with Rerum Novarum. And since today there is the problem of artificial intelligence and social media, he would like to compare himself somewhat to that stature. Actually, the name Leo was already circulating for many years elsewhere. Forgive me, I am speaking with that frankness you all know me for. You must have patience with me. Because in the small remnant there are many sensibilities. Could it be that perhaps someone has preempted others? That the name was in one place, and since it wasn't stolen? I'll just say this, an important consideration, this Pope Leo, as they call him, he wears the pontifical vestment, but in the sash which is the symbol of authority. To this day, after more than 40 days, it is clear that Cianci has not looked into this. It is missing, it is obvious, but he convinces the people who follow him to believe. Let's give Pope Leo time. They all do that now. To cover their backs. They all do that. What a scenario. Pathetic. Something. What difference is there between Cianci and... You tell me, Professor Zanone, is there any more difference? That these ones were squabbling amongst themselves, you tell me. What is the difference now between Zanoni and Cianci? They have all made peace. They are all together. The only consistent one so far, and the only one, is the Marian Priestly Association. So, he does not have on the sash, Leo, as they call him Pope. He does not have the pontifical coat of arms. Until today. Until today, Leo the 14th, as they call him, he does not have the pontifical coat of arms. We're not showing the images, they're archive footage, but look at the last few days. I mean, this Pope is doing everything. His pace at 69 is incredible. Incidentally, his name is Leone, and he was born the day after the day I was born. Naturally, he was born earlier, I know, but he was also born the day after. That is, I have my birthday and came into the world on the 13th of September, and he has his birthday and came into the world on the 14th of September. This is interesting, this struck me. Isn't it that God, not Dom Minutella, has established the antagonism, final, and the small remnant? Is it not that it still doesn't want to understand it? Is it not that there truly is this antagonism for which Domina would do well? Willingly would he escape? It's David versus Goliath anyway. He has the numbers and I don't have them. He is the Pope, they say, and I am not, they say. He commands and I do not. Got it? He wears white and I do not. He has been elected, and what am I to be? He did not want to be Pope, whereas the enemies, what do they say? He cannot wait to be the Pope, speaking for me. But beyond the chatter that exists between the Bergoglians and the small remnant, God doesn't give a toss about everyone's gossip. Anyway, Prevost doesn't hold the keys. The pontifical symbol isn't on the sash. And I'll put a challenge to you, those of the small remnant. Do you see that more than us? It won't be them who will be waiting for this event in Monza. And do you know why I'm telling you this? That they actually, this is what I think, a lack of recognition from this side. At Monza, it would greatly benefit them, and on the contrary. Because many of those who only use their minds say that if in Monza there is a recognition of, as a guide, an official recognition as a guide, and they say, you're called that for a while now, all right? Then there are those who say they will tell the enemies we have made, our church, which we are like the Palmar de Troia church, and Dom Minutella, this was what he wanted. My dear children, beware of what can be antilogy, that is, opposition to God's plan. The question that each of you who come to Monza must ask, beginning with the brothers, is, does God want it? At this point I put you with your backs against the wall. Otherwise, do not come. Who cares? Each of you who come to Monza, ask yourselves, does God want it or not? That there be a recognition? Because as long as there is no recognition from reality itself, how does one go on like this? And on the other hand, it's the opposite. That is, they pretend to believe they're ready to shoot at us, in the obvious media sense of the term. If there is a recognition, and perhaps they do. However, at the same time, since those are the partisans of Satan, they are already praying on the contrary. They do everything in reverse, so that the recognition does not happen. Because if the recognition happens, they are in trouble on that side. It is because what perhaps God wills occurs. And since they want what Satan wants, when on this side in Monza, we do what the Holy Virgin has said and wants, they are in trouble. I don't know if what I'm saying is clear. They are all in trouble. At the moment when the solemnity of St. Peter the Apostle in Monza constitutes the courageous, definitive act of recognition of the will of God. Because I tell you, my dear children, that if we do not speak, the stones will speak, because God carries his plan forward. It doesn't stop. We're not playing. The devil is in Rome. And I do not speak as an incompetent, a pseudo-mystic, but as a theologian, twice a doctor, and as a pastor according to God's heart. And I told you that this is the reckoning, because in Rome, after Bergoglio, someone has emerged, someone who is deceiving humanity. I know what the risk is, perhaps you don't, who are enjoying the show at home, but I don't know what it is, the risk, understood. But I have to say it, because it's a fact. It's a deception. It is a false program, that of Prevost, and today, once again, I will prove it to you even more. First, Prevost, who does not wear the sash with the pontifical emblem, but Dr. Cionci will know how to find the answer. Do not worry. Perhaps then Zanoni invites him and says onwards with Gaetano, and onwards with Arena, and onwards with Arena. Finally, he has decided to ignore me because I am... For everyone I remain the intractable one. They are the aristocrats of thought. They know everything. They are experts. It is just Don Minutella, the scoundrel. Let us proceed in order. This one here who was invalidly elected. I wonder how this cannot be reconciled with one's own conscience. After he wrote the Ratzinger Code, and yet he does not uphold this code, Ratzinger, but he has the courage to continue distributing the Ratzinger Code while he believes that Prevost is the Ratzinger Code, the Pope. And so Benedict XVI would have done all this. For what? Excuse me, Cioncius of the moment, for what purpose? Benedict XVI would have created a code to then allow Cionci to contradict him, saying that the Pope is a provost. Benedict XVI is Moses. He said it, I am withdrawing to the mountain like Moses, but he meant that he was opening a new path, where the pontificate, the munus, the keys would no longer be. He really said it. If I accept it, he really said it. We're not going down mysterious paths. The Pope really said it. The last Pope said it. He is the last Pope. Everything is possible. Everything is possible. Understood? So, but Prevost, where does the deception lie? The deception lies in this, that he is making believe. He is a product of Bergoglio. He was in the entourage. He comes from the workshop of our own Prevost and his own production, made in Bergoglio. Understood? Made in the workshop of us others. Let no one delude themselves. He has certainly been seen in these days. Videos in which he received honorary degrees around the world. He has been promoted. Evidently, the Masonry has worked slowly, without haste, the ecclesiastical Masonry to prepare Bergoglio's successor. And that there is a panda, and it's not like I'm inventing it. It's a pity that those at Fede Cultura, the New Daily Compass, and the Ratzinger Code, they don't notice it. They don't notice it when in these approximately 40 days, Prevost is significantly, actually, not just symbolically, undermined by Bergoglio. Thank you. Pope Francis does not stop saying it. He went 2 times. It is a record. No pope had ever done this with his own predecessor. 2 times he went to Bergoglio's tomb and he knelt, and then he said phrases bordering on the unbelievable. For who knows who Bergoglio was? It is a scandal. It is a scandal. When he says we were like sheep without a shepherd. When Bergoglio died, Pope Francis, it is a scandal. When he says that Pope Francis blesses us from heaven, you all must hear what Monsignor Schneider says to understand that these are all in it. The same pot, Monsignor Schneider, was capable of saying that the Pope meant he is in purgatory, not in paradise, because then it was revealed to Monsignor Schneider. Or, since he wants to play a cunning game, then in paradise he cannot be straight away, because, well, how does he do from... And so he is in purgatory. Monsignor Schneider says so. Get it? So take heart, all of you who are rotten sinners, wretched, damned ones, and you are enjoying life, blaspheming God, you will be saved. If Bergoglio was saved, Pope Leo says so, and an Uncle Schneider confirms it to him. Do you understand the levels Rome is at? Do you understand that the devil is in Rome? Because there is deceit, there is falsehood, there is corruption, there is moral perversion. Trust me. Rome is indeed black, like St. Peter's Dome. Go and see it. Rome is black, like St. Peter's Dome. And so this Prevost, who should be the Pope of the break, because this is a Masonic marketing that must serve to make people believe that there is a break with Bergoglio, because the throne has already been occupied, and now it only needs to be guarded, to finish the work. That's why they elected someone of 69 years old, who can live, God willing, about 20 years. And about 20 years with this sort of style can be sufficient. 20 years with this sort of artificial style, no. The people I've met out and about, and I'm not talking about the small remnant, all right? I ask, there are those who can confirm for me at the restaurant, in the pizzeria. If I find someone on the street and ask, but what impression does this Pope make on you? Most people reply, I do not like him. I don't like him. He's artificial. I'll say it. He's cold and artificial. This Pope is cold. He, with this coldness, will end up destroying Roman Catholicism. Because Roman Catholicism, you must imagine it as an institution that is, so to speak, tottering. Or, if you like a ship that is about to sink. Well, in about 20 years of artificial pontificate, Prevost proceeds to sink it definitively. But no one must notice it. No one must say it. On the contrary, the deception, the energy planes, the power of deception must invade everyone's consciousness. And so, let's give him time. This is the slogan that is currently circulating. Now, he no longer puts on Cianci at those levels there, where you saw that he no longer wears white trousers, he wears black trousers, coma. And there are people who say, thank you, Dr. Cianci, for the investigations you are carrying out, because he wears black trousers. I don't know, there's someone here laughing, and we have cause to cry. Content should be pleasing. Dr. Cianci, the content, you spoke about synodality. You don't understand theology, in the sense that you are not a professional, just as I am not a professional journalist. Everyone should remain within their own fields, so as not to deceive consciences. Here it seems to me that deceivers are springing up aplenty. Everywhere there are deceivers. Well then, this Prevost must be seen as the Pope of the rupture. Where is the rupture? I would like to ask, where is this rupture with Bergoglio? Why does he tell the bishop to take off his hat? But everyone has their own style, do you know this? One bishop who had a small hat against the sun came to greet him, and he gently, the provost, tells him to take it off, because then everyone started writing big headlines, it's over. The era of the clowning around, Bergoglio left and right. Everyone has their own style, but it is their content that one must go by. I tell you this, John Paul II and Benedict XVI, were they different or not? But no one was there discussing this. John XIII and his predecessor Pius XII, were they or were they not different? Abysmally different, but what matters is the content of the faith, the apostolic faith. Now, I find it scandalous, I say this 8 days from the event in Monza, where God could respond if the courage to accept it remains small. And perhaps the need has finally arisen to have the courage to do it, without hesitating with fears that are only human. I tell you 40 days on that it is scandalous that there can be one whom they consider the Pope of rupture, who in 40 days has not uttered a single syllable for the situation of apostasy and blatant heresy that there is in the Church of Rome. This is the deception. This is the false program, my dear children. The apostolic faith is not to be touched. That it is still being debated. If this Prevost was truly what they describe, he should have done nothing but say, night and day, the ordination of women is not debated. It shouldn't even be spoken of. Let them come to me, for I will see to it that I say it. It must not be discussed. Whoever discusses it is outside the Catholic Church, is excommunicated. Instead, what has Provasti done these days? Dr. Cianci, take an interest in these things. Have the courage. He made 2 appointments. If it had been Bergoglio, Cianci would have done it. Since it is now useful for him to make his followers believe that they deserve to be kept in the deception that Provasti is the Pope, he doesn't say these things. Prevost has already made 2 scandalous episcopal appointments, so much so that Strickland intervened, but Cianci probably doesn't know it. Let the anonymous scar tell him. And so let's see if they then inform themselves and don't see that I am right. Strickland, the American United States bishop, has intervened on the last Prevostian appointment. Preostin, in recent days we talked about it, he appointed Bishop of Brisbane, an Australian bishop, Brisbane in Australia, openly in favor of the ordination of women. He is therefore a heretic and an apostate who goes against the apostolic tradition, against the apostolic faith, which is untouchable. Prevost made him Archbishop of Brisbane. Incidentally, well, this Archbishop-elect of Brisbane, with the signature of Prevost, he participated in the Synod on Synodality, so he knows Prevost. You know that this was one of those who, when Cardinal Hollerich proposed to eliminate the first chapter of the letter to the Romans, this, McKinley, who was elected Archbishop of Brisbane by Prevost, said that Cardinal Hollerich said that Cardinal McKinley was elected Archbishop of Brisbane by Prevost. Hollerich is a good and leading cardinal who must be listened to. He was made Archbishop of Brisbane. But tell Scianci, one of the collaborators, Dr. Barbieri, what's her name? Barbieri? It's coming to me. Tampieri? Dr. Tampieri, tell your friend Scianci that he is Prevost, that you see as possible. The Pope is actually doing this because, apparently, only we wretched ones are talking about it, keeping people in deception. The people who want to be deceived, though. And Prevost himself, the one who, a few weeks ago, signed the election of the new Bishop of St. Gallen, of St. Gall in Switzerland, Monsignor Gier Grassley, who is a convinced, he too, supporter of the ordination of women. If he were Pope, he should intervene, saying nothing doing, it's not to be discussed. For Christ doesn't want it. It is the game of the chameleon. It is Prevost's deception. It is the false program. Yes, I gave it to Jesus Christ, who didn't say it, apparently. I don't know if he said it. Anyway, peace be with you. The stole, the mozetta, and there you are, careful to see if the trousers are black or red. If the stockings are holed, the socks were of silk, bought from Gamarelli. Do you realize to what levels those stoop who close their eyes to the truth? And in the meantime, Prevost, thanks to those like Scianci who capitulate, thanks to those like the world and Acum, and I said it from the beginning when Scianci moved away from us, I said that it is a deviated form of an ecumenism. And indeed, that is how it is. That's how it's going. By the way, Scianci seems not to want to acknowledge the canonical issue. For him, it no longer exists, because he says that there were cardinals of pre-Bergoglian appointment who would have, just imagine, like Speifi, on their own, accepted to elect provosts together with the Bergoglians and thus making the elections valid. But here we are truly in the realm of, what I want to say then is that we return to Prevost while you make people believe. This is the deception, that he is the moderate pope, that he is the pope of low tones, that he is the pope who doesn't have the outbursts, the tirades of Pope Francis, who, however, venerates. Why did he choose him? Bergoglio. He took him from Peru. He made him a bishop and then prefect of the bishops, making him one of the most powerful cardinals in the world. And he pretends that everything now must proceed calmly. And this is precisely the lethal anesthesia, not total, but lethal. And the lethal anesthesia. And here is the false program. Now it is all about anesthesia, the injection, to make one believe that everything is fine, that everything has returned to normal, like when the alarm subsides. Then the alarm subsides and the red alert no longer sounds. Well, they've done this, but in reality the ship sinks. These two appointments have prompted, for example, Monsignor Strickland to say that it isn't a choice. Heavy and dramatic, which must invite everyone to open their eyes. Because if he is chosen by Pope Leo of the Restoration, by Pope Leo of the Break, by Pope Leo, with the black trousers by Pope Leo, who enchants and bewitches us by Pope Leo, that we must give him time by Pope Leo from here and by Pope Leo, from their Provost's pendulum that is hypnotizing the entire world. Naturally, they see, while everyone else, from Scianci to Zenoni, from Cascioli to all of the others, they all remain enchanted, let's hope, unknowingly. Because if they remain so knowingly, they lose their soul. In Rome, they know it remains an organization that does not yield. You will say that is not true because there is the Palmarian Church. The Palmarian Church does not bother the one in Rome. The witnesses of John, the apostles of the saints, of the Gnostics, of the last 2 weeks. But damn it, the issues here do not remain. The Scientologists, all these do not bother. And why don't they cause trouble? Because there is a reality that is the Achilles heel for this Masonic Satanist, and therefore it is against this reality that the battle is waged. The name Leo should say everything. Because you see, the Bible speaks and they know it. David defeated Goliath, right? And we, the small remnant, now more than ever, must have this awareness that it is no longer only the time for denunciation and of uncompromising resistance. Now it is necessary to close ranks. Now it is necessary to identify ourselves, disregarding what everyone else says, unless one wants it. But the question is, what is God's design? What is God's design for the small remnant for Monza? What does God want in Monza? We will go there just to say Prevost. Are you not the Pope for the next 20 years? Or, on the other hand, they are fearing something. Then if it were to happen, they will respond, saying that finally we have been identified as a sect. Because what have they said about us so far? Excuse me, is this small remnant led or not by 3 excommunicated priests and reduced to the lethal state? Yes or no? And be careful that they send infiltrators into the various small regional remnants. Thank you. In contacts between priests, between seminarians, between nuns, they try in every way, with Soviet methods, to destroy the work. We have unsuspected infiltrators. I would almost say, as of today, perhaps no longer tomorrow, that is to say, in the near future, unmentionable at this moment. People who are with us pretending, naturally, it's a general point, something inside us, and who then secretly or thinking they are secretly tell everything understood, what is said to us. In detail, you have understood what levels we are at, and we are still there playing. Then if those who leave, what does it matter to us? We must to face this monster. The time has come to do it openly. That is, at this point, my dears, we must listen to what heaven asks of us. For what I said that Monza is an event. And besides, it's the pot calling the kettle black. I mean, if someone were to come, I don't know, from this world, Unacum who makes a sport of accusing me, who says you had yourself proclaimed, apart from the fact that there shouldn't be any election, that anyway I spoke of recognition, etc. So what do you want it to be? You who write to me who you belong to Pope Leo, who is not the Pope and leads you away from the apostolic faith and hypnotizes you. So keep your misfortune and I will keep mine, and then we will see in the end who wins. Because we are at the reckoning, flowers, dears, while the world is in flames. I remind you of this. I started this episode saying this. So the false program is that of Prevost, who is carrying forward the Church of Darkness. That, as St. Emmerich called it, which seeks a subversion of Catholic identity. The aim of Saint is twofold. The first is to build a false church, and it is succeeding. The second, it will not succeed, to eliminate the apostolic faith from the face of the earth. And so it is we who are preserving the apostolic faith, and we shall do so, even to the shedding of blood, if necessary. So what is important is that we go to Monza to be precisely those who proclaim the apostolic truth. That cannot be touched because it is the will of Christ. It is the foundational and normative will of our Lord Jesus Christ. I do not know if I managed to explain it well, but I think so. First of all, I would like to remind you that there is this first docu-film that I invite you to participate in, which is an interesting thing that the Sardinian journalist couple is developing. There it is, the link, the post, the sign, everything. It helps you. avanticomaria.at. Connect and give your contribution, which they will then know how to arrange. It's all online. This is an excellent, valuable work that can be realized to make it understood that we are not a sect of fanatics, but we are the Catholics who have not bowed to today's imposture. In the meantime, I remind you that you can call the telephone number of Radio Domina Nostra for this or for other matters, and help us because at this moment the expenses are enormous, but I always trust in divine providence, and so far, thanks be to God, nothing has ever been lacking. And so from this point of view, you know that the work needs your contribution, your support, and that goes in the description. The IBAN, the postal current account, PayPal. Many of you help us consistently without ever faltering, and this is an excellent service for us because it enables us to continue. Today there are no phone calls. Lately you have all been rather lazy. Thank you. Why? Because I tell those who call more often not to call, but then the others never call. And so it ends up with no phone calls, which isn't necessarily so negative. Well then, upon all of you, the holy blessing of the Lord, wishing you a day full of peace and joy. Pray for me, because I truly feel at times when speaking like a madman, but better a madman than a saint. Saint Philip Neri said, "As for the rest, I will go on my way with the rosary in hand." And today is the feast of Saint Aloysius Gonzaga. Let's think about heaven.